This is where all of the magic happens. This is my classroom, and you can see that it is not a lab, but we do with what we have. I'll have students do investigations using these tables, and it does give us some ability to move around and do activities. We have our sink over here, which is not ideal, but again, we make the most of it. Ideally, I would love to purchase lab tables that could line the back walls, where we could use the stations and run plugs so that we could actually have a designated lab section in this classroom, or even to get rid of the desks from the 1970s and bring in some of the blacktop lab tables that students would be able to use, and they would be waterproof and residue wouldn't get stuck on there. You'll notice when it comes to lab supplies, we have new microscopes, which are wonderful. They're cordless, which is great because we don't have many outlets here, and I don't need to worry about running extension cords across the room. You'll notice we have some textbooks, which I really don't use. I'm not a textbook teacher. I like hands-on, inquiry-based labs. And then you'll just notice some random supplies here and material that I've bought. I buy most of the material for labs. You'll notice I have the cross-cutting concepts and the engineering practices for NGSS. And here is just more random supplies, housing, things for clubs or after school. Again, I've purchased all of these things for my students. And so there's really not much here when it comes to lab supplies. And I did pull out our dissection trays because that is another thing I would love to be able to purchase. These are very old and very gross. We need to remelt the wax every summer in order to use them properly, and they're very, very gross, but they're what we have, and so this is what we use for lots of different activities, including our dissections. We have petitioned to the PTA for money in the past to buy frogs for our students, in order for them to have that experience, and so that would be something else I would like to purchase with the funds for that hands-on activity. You'll see we have most of our activities are crayons and paper, because we really lack lab supplies. We don't have much to work with. However, I still believe I'm giving my students a very authentic experience with science to the best of my ability with the resources that I have. This is our prep room. You'll notice that we have a lot of out-of-date books, most of which were purchased in the 1970s. We've got many items in here, but a lot of just stuff laying around. Those are the old microscopes that we replaced. Those are the ones that purchased in the 70s, but we held on to them just in case we needed the parts. Those are our out-of-date textbooks. This was something that one of our science teachers built, actually, so that we could grow plants and seeds. So this was all created and built by us, just because it's cheaper to build than purchase, and we just don't have the money available. You'll notice that we have got more of those very, very old microscopes. And again, this is where everything is housed for all teachers, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science, serving 1,200 of our students, most of which things are just very old and not usable. We probably have a hoarding problem, but we would rather have items that we could maybe use than not have anything at all. Those are our resources, and this is my classroom. So thank you so much for listening and seeing that. I did want to take a moment just to explain how we could use this grant money. Specifically, I am all about designing hands-on inquiry-based lessons, and our students just don't have the resources to experience those as often as I would like. I would specifically use the money for new dissection trays, dissection scopes. Ideally, I would like to buy and purchase dissection materials in addition to lab tables that I could place within my room and along the walls. One thing that you would not have seen is the fact that we don't have any technology in the realm of computers. If I want my students to use computers, I have to actually take them to the library. And for experiments and labs that involve graphing and data collection and computers, they don't have that option. I can't even do a gizmo with my students, let alone a web quest. And so having a class set of Chromebooks or laptops would be something else that I really would love to use the money for, and I know my students would use those daily. The last thing that I would love to be able to use the money for is for specimen, for future dissections, whether those be hearts or frogs or worms or really anything to give them the experience of seeing themselves as a scientist and having that skill set to gain the confidence so that they would pursue those STEM opportunities in high school, our STEM fields and even careers later in life. And so that's my heart. My students deserve it. My students are underserved, high farms rate, and I believe that they are great candidates to receive this grant. So thank you so much.